For basically all of human history, we've been searching everywhere for the ultimate source of consciousness. We've mapped out the stars, we've decoded the entire human genome, we've built these massive technological empires, all trying to find that one spark that makes us who we are. But what if the answer wasn't hiding out there in the cosmos or locked away inside some complex neural network? What if the secret to our awareness has literally been moving through us all along, in every single cell, every drop, every tear, and every tide? Welcome to our explainer. Today we're exploring a truly fascinating perspective on exactly this topic.
And this brings us right to the core philosophical debate presented in our source text. Ask modern science and you'll generally hear that consciousness lives strictly inside the brain, that our awareness is really just the byproduct of electrical storms firing inside our gray matter. But the ancient, mystical view, it contrasts sharply with that. It suggests that the brain doesn't create consciousness any more than a radio creates music. Instead, the brain is just a receiver, a transmitter for this invisible, infinite current. And for this current to move, well, it needs a medium.
To unpack all of this, we're going to look at The Great Awakening, The Lost Scroll of Living Water by Catherine Palizzi. The author's central premise here is honestly as bold as it is poetic. The idea is that water is not just a passive resource. It's not just simple H2O. According to the text, water is a conscious, living entity. It is the literal medium for spiritual ascension and the actual liquid architecture of awareness itself. We're going to neutrally explore the text's claims today to see exactly how it maps out this ancient connection. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, The Source of Consciousness. The text claims that long before creation took physical form, water existed as a boundless intelligence, this fluid field of awareness way before light or matter even came into the picture. Now, the source material is highly unique because it actually embeds lyrical songs directly into the text to act as what the author calls activations. Just listen to these lyrics. When the water remembers, heaven floods the earth. When the water remembers, we are shown our worth. I think this perfectly illustrates the ethereal, emotional tone of the book. The core concept here is that human beings aren't just vessels holding water. We are quite literally water remembering itself. Moving right along to Section 2, Water as a Living Mirror. So if water is conscious, how does it actually interact with us? Well, the author views water not as a passive resource to be used, but as an ancient record keeper that reflects exactly what it's shown. It literally becomes what it is exposed to. Notice the stark contrast in these crystalline structures. This is from the theories of Dr. Masaru Emoto, which the text relies on heavily. Emoto's experiments claim to show how human intention physically alters water's crystalline structure. On one side, you have water exposed to words like love or gratitude, and it forms these stunning, symmetrical, snowflake-like structures. On the other side, you have dead water exposed to anger or chaos, and it fragments into this disorganized, chaotic mess. The author presents this to argue that our inner waters react the exact same way to our own thoughts. This sets up a really powerful comparison in the book, coherence versus chaos. Inner coherence happens when our water organizes perfectly. It clears the mind, aligns the body, and allows our consciousness to shine through effortlessly. Chaos happens when things like fear, deceit, or trauma cause our internal water to lose that beautiful structure. Healing, therefore, isn't about fixing something that's fundamentally broken. It's really just about restoring the flow and clearing out the distortions in our liquid architecture. To explain how this actually works on a physical level, the book shifts into specific biophysical theories. Section 3, The Science of Structure. All right, first up in this scientific framework is exclusion zone, or easy water. This is based on the research of Dr. Gerald Pollack. The text explains that water actually has a structured fourth phase that goes beyond just solid, liquid, and gas. This easy water forms along surfaces inside our bodies, like our cell membranes. It acts as a literal biological battery, storing light energy and serving as the invisible conductor for all cellular communication. When we're aligned, this water maintains its coherent, charged structure. Next, the author introduces piezoelectricity. In physics, this is when certain materials generate an electrical charge when they're put under pressure. The text applies this directly to the human body, noting that our connective tissues, our bones, and our structured water all exhibit this effect. But here is the fascinating twist. The author links this mechanical process to emotion. When you feel a deep emotion, that pressure generates a literal piezoelectric spark inside you, creating internal light that charges your water. Then we have cymatics, which is the study of how vibration creates visible geometric forms. Low, incoherent sounds create chaotic, messy shapes in sand or water, while harmonic tones create beautiful symmetry.
The book asserts that every single word we speak and every thought we think acts as a cymatic vibration. You are literally shaping the geometry of the water inside your cells all day long. If you speak truth, your cellular water aligns into a sacred, beautiful order. Finally, the text touches on scalar energy. Now, unlike normal electromagnetic waves that travel with resistance, scalar waves are described here as expanding from stillness in the zero-point fields, basically a space of pure potential. The author theorizes that practices like meditation, gratitude, and prayer actually generate scalar harmonics within us. And these harmonics are what reorganize our internal water back to its original, undistorted state, returning us to our natural resonance. So it begs the question, if we have this incredible, harmonious network inside us, why is the world so full of pain? The author calls this original imbalance. Section 4, The Great Fall. The Great Fall isn't described in the book as a single historical event. Instead, it's framed as a slow, creeping amnesia, what the author calls the forgetting. Fear, control, and greed disconnected humanity from the natural rhythms of the earth. The text claims we were slowly taught to view the natural world, and especially water, as mere property, and to view our own bodies as purely mechanical. We poisoned our inner waters long before we ever polluted the oceans. This spell of separation dimmed our consciousness and clouded the very waters that carry our inner light. But the author strongly challenges the systems that profit from this forgetting, particularly the concept of a distant afterlife. The lyrics in the book highlight a deeply provocative claim. Heaven's here and now, while you're alive. You don't ascend the day you die. The text insists that heaven is absolutely not a post-death destination that you have to earn. Rather, it's a vibration that we can achieve right now, simply by clearing our internal waters and reclaiming our own frequency. So, how do we actually clear this distortion in our daily lives? Let's move to Section 5, Steps to Inner Healing. The text provides a highly actionable, practical manual for doing exactly this. It stresses that healing your consciousness isn't about learning complex secret rituals. It's really about returning to simplicity and remembering that your body is water. The first key habits center around restoring basic flow. The author advises conscious hydration, literally pausing before you drink, placing your hand over the glass, and silently blessing the water with gratitude so it carries coherence directly into your cells. The next step is using breath as a current. Because water responds to vibration, intentional breathing moves the liquid inside you, sweeping away blockages and realigning your internal rivers with your awareness. The remaining steps focus heavily on releasing stagnation. And what's really interesting here is how the book frames emotional release. The author suggests using sound and frequency, like humming or singing, to acoustically restructure your cellular water from the inside out. Crucially, they emphasize allowing tears to flow. Crying isn't seen as a weakness here at all. It's presented as a vital mechanical clearing process for stagnant emotional currents. Finally, physically connecting with external waters, like touching a river or swimming in the ocean, is said to merge your internal waters with the massive collective flow of the earth. Ultimately, structuring water is all about merging elements of frequency, light, and intention. This completely wraps up the author's overarching message. By healing the water within us, we are actively reconnecting our consciousness with the quantum field and the physical world around us. We aren't separate from our environment. When our internal waters become whole again, the world begins to remember too. We've explored the fascinating claim today that we are fundamentally made of a conscious, listening medium that records every single thought and emotion we generate. According to this text, you are the transmitter, you're the receiver, and you are the very water that carries the signal. Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought to take away from this explainer. If your internal water is always listening and literally shaping itself to your words, what will you tell it today?